Gruesome Magazine.
Hello once again, this is Doc Rodman, and we are Gruesome Magazine. I screwed it up right out of the gate, and I love you all. We're going to review the very latest streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-host Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, Christopher G. Mohr, and myself will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we review the film that you'll understand why I'm shaking. Yes, it's When Evil Lurks, streaming on Shudder beginning October 27, 2023. Oh my, before we get into everything, let me introduce the crew, starting off with Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great.
Great.
Excellent.
I like to hear that. Also joining us tonight is award-winning filmmaker, Christopher G. Mohr. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. I think I just found out something's rotten is in my house, but it's just because I didn't flush the toilet, so everything's okay.
No!
It wasn't anything evil lurking.
Oh, so it was number 2.
Or that Taco Bell sack you forgot.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, jeez.
The burrito, the burrito.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you. Good night. Also joining us tonight is Dave Dreher. Dave Dreher, how you doing, sir?
I am well. Thank you, gentlemen. How's everyone there? Everyone's looking fine. Look at y'all looking all so handsome. Can't take it.
Yep.
You got your glasses on? Oh, yeah, you do.
Hey, I see you got your rubber ducks hat there. Jeff.
I do.
I'm wearing mine. You got yours sitting there.
Oh, shoot.
The other two they're not the cool guys.
Rubber ducks.
All right, guys.
Look at that. That's funny. Look at that. The rubber ducks. I don't even know what that is, and we're just going to keep on going. All right. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to give you our first impression of When Evil Lurks, and then those first impressions will be spoiler-free. Not going to be an easy thing to do, but we're going to try. And then we're going to get into a discussion, and in that discussion, we will get into spoilers, so be warned. And then we'll wrap things up with our score 1 to 5 and our favorite scene. And I'll just let you know right now, I'm excited as all get out to talk about this movie, and I can't wait to hear what the rest of the crew think. But we hope you enjoy not only this review, but many others that we have on the site. And if you do, please hit the like, subscribe, share with a friend buttons. And each click will help us find more horror fans just like you. Yay. Let's get into the card and get things going. Da boom. All right. Let's do it, shall we? When Evil Lurks 2023, available streaming on Shudder beginning October 27th. The synopsis is, in a remote village, 2 brothers find a demon-infected man just about to give birth to evil itself. They decide to get rid of the man, but merely succeed in spreading the chaos. Written and directed by Demián. Rugna. The cast includes Ezequiel, Rodríguez, Ziembrowski, and Demián Salomón. That's right.
Not bad, Doc.
That's
good.
Right. That's right.
Damn, you someone was been practicing.
I just kind of went with it real fast, and whatever came out, came out.
He's cursed.
All right. Jeff, sir, let's get your first impression of When Evil Lurks.
Oh, well, heck, I love this. I've been waiting anxiously for this, and I predicted that it would be on my top 10 before I ever even saw it. I didn't even watch the trailer just because I loved Terrified so much from this director. I was surprised how long ago it was. It was actually 6 years ago, but we probably got it, a year late or something. But anyway, I loved it. It is creepy as hell, and you find out very soon. There's a scene where you're watching, and I'm going, he's not going to do that, is he? I'm keeping an eye on that dog.
I know.
Oh crap! So, and it just goes from there. It's nasty. It's creepy. It's good visually. I kept yelling at the lead guy. No, listen to what they are telling you. Quit that. But I can understand that, I mean, anyway, I love the heck about it, although it left us with kind of a interpretive ending, I guess, to a certain extent. Maybe not.
Maybe
It was a
not.
downer. It was a 70s ending.
Definitely was. It definitely was. Dave Dreher, you're up next. What was your first impression of When Evil Lurks?
Well, it certainly is an ooey gooey movie. I'll give it that much. I don't think it's any surprise that I'm probably going to be the one that likes this least, because it was, most of my things that I don't care for. It was a foreign film. It was subtitled, borderline almost on folk horror, which I freaking hate folk horror. It was kind of there a little bit, had that vibe to it, but there's no denying the violence and the goo and it's ooey gooey. It was ooey gooey. Yeah. So, like I said, I fully expect to be the one that likes this least. But with that being said, it was a gooey watch.
But it's not an A24 film, right, Dave?
No, but it's kind of, it's like them trying to say, look, we kind of look like an A24 film. Look at us. We're A23.
I love A24 films, but I know that Dave's.
Yeah, I got a real problem with them, but yeah, I mean this wasn't bad. This wasn't bad. I don't think it's the masterpiece everyone's about to herald it is, but it was okay.
Very good, you bugger. All right, up next, Christopher G. Mohr. What was your first impression of When Evil Lurks?
Yeah, this film is it's brutal. It's I think a lot of times we watch a lot of these American horror films, and most certain characters are safe, or we assume they're safe. And this is a film where nobody's safe.
Nobody.
And I think that felt kind of freeing to, like, oh crap, anybody could die. It doesn't matter if you're a kid or a dog or whatever, or a goat or any of that kind of stuff. I will say I had a similar issue like Jeff did, where the protagonist, or I don't even really want to call him protagonist, because he's not really, he's almost like Ash if he was an asshole, but not a lovable asshole. You know what I mean? And he never makes the right decisions, and it gets very annoying, because I feel like the film probably could have worked out. The story could have worked out a whole different if he actually listened to people, instead of just like, 1 minute he's talking about he doesn't know what to do, and then he's making stupid decisions, and then people are dead because of it. So, so that really annoyed me. But that there's so many shocking and creepy and just like, I mean, there's moments where I was like, oh God, what is happening here? Because when that evil gets out there, you have moments where kids are acting like the Omen kids, and you're gonna die and stuff like that. And so there I think that there's this weird dread that happens. I mean, when evil lurks is a perfect thing, because it's lurking there, and you never know when it's going to attack or when things are going to happen. And the sad part is you have a person who's really not fit to be able to deal with it. He's just trying to find ways to escape it, but at the same time, he's not listening to those people who know more than he does. So yeah, it's very impactful, and like I said, it's very brutal. Sometimes I get very irritated when characters are just making just idiotic decisions, but there's so many parts in this where it's like, oh my God. I mean, there's, I can't say because we're not in the spoilerville, but yeah, there's one part. It was like, I don't know what I would do in that situation if I was driving by someone.
Yes, I know.
But yeah, I kept hearing things, and I kind of shied away from trailers too, Jeff. I think that there's a trailer that showed when I was at the movie theater one time, and I kind of turned away. I didn't look at the picture because I really want, and I was truly surprised, because there's moments like, oh God, I will say I felt like there was parts I was kind of confused as to what was happening, and it kind of took me out of it a few times. But for the most part, this is a very powerful and sort of like hard-hitting film that's got this sort of level of brutality and effects where this isn't one of those films where they they cut away from one shot and they catch another shot. You know, it's like the same scene when people are getting hit with axes and stuff. It does not cut away. It's like, oh, I'm not used to that, because people usually try to hide the effects with their editing, and this one, it's like it's within the shot. It's like, wow, that's really, it's brutal because you don't cut away from it. You're so shocked by it because you're used to those editing things you find in horror films. So yeah, when Evil Lurks, it's yeah, man. This I can understand what people are talking about it, because this got so many scenes in this that you're gonna walk away from this like kind of creeped out and like, oh god, I can't believe that happened in this film.
Yeah, I absolutely love this movie. This Exorcist films are possession films, I should say. Are tropey at times. Most of the time, it's very rare that you can do something fresh within the subgenre. And there's no doubt that this is in the realm of possession films. And we just got that like Exorcist Believer, and this does right everything that Exorcist Believer does wrong. It does. This movie is shocking. It is. You can't look away. I was absorbed. This movie just drew me in and wouldn't let go of me. And it was horrifying. It was shocking. It was scary, tense. There were things I saw that I didn't think I couldn't believe I was watching at the time I was seeing them. This movie hits a lot of things absolutely 100% right. And yeah, you could talk about like the character makes stupid decisions, but I think that's for this particular movie. It's the point. The horror, it's for this entire town. This entire thing is dysfunctional, right? Everything is so dysfunctional. They don't listen to each other. They don't communicate. From his family to the people that they go to the people that come to them. Nobody's listening to anybody. Everybody's dysfunctional, and even the people that know what's going on don't even listen. Like you were talking about a certain scene with an axe. The guy knows what not to do, but yet he doesn't even listen to himself. So dysfunctional as a possessed horror movie is an interesting take on this, and it's just but I can't wait to watch this movie again. I wanted to watch it again before we record tonight, but time is not my friend.
Yeah, same here.
And this movie I can't recommend enough. But I get why Dave doesn't care for it. It's not Dave's wheelhouse, but I still think Dave should give it another shot. And one thing that we mentioned is that Santos, of course, Jr. There were certain things in movies that he really liked, and this movie has all of it. It has all of it, and we're in spoilers now. So if you haven't seen the movie, it's on Shudder. You have Shudder. Go watch this movie. But we're going to get into spoilers. There are what 3 or 4 kids in this movie that.
Yeah.
Just,
and in defense of the actions that the guys take, literally, you're in a high intense situation that's very rapid fire, and you're all wound up. The people you care about the most, you're trying to save, and the thing that you have to do is the exact opposite of what every natural instinct you have is telling you to do. And that your feelings and emotions are telling you to do, so you can't do this, you can't do that, you have to do this, and the main thing being that you can't kill them, you're not supposed to shoot them, and when you catch the guy that did the things, or the thing that did the things that it did to your kids, that's a tough thing not to do, in this big situation. So, and you're frantically running to do this or do that and blah blah blah. So anyway, he screwed it all up in the end, Pedro, but it's hard.
He tried.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I kind of get it. I mean, I think that's your natural reactions and your emotions and are going to take over. Yeah, he did all the wrong things and people were telling him to do the right things, but they were the opposite of what you would want.
But he wasn't alone. It wasn't
That's
like
right.
he was the only one doing bad things.
Yeah, Ruiz too did it.
Well, and I think also there's the interesting aspect once we know like these rules and stuff, like there's like, don't run, take your time, don't rush, because I think the problem is people make these hasty decisions and that's what gets them in trouble. And because they usually use their emotions or, they think they need to be fast or that kind of thing. Because that's when she says you make mistakes is in haste. And how this evil goes after people who fear. So it goes after the things you fear most. And like in most of these sort of possession things, the evil spirits have knowledge, like because we have that first couple or the evil knows that, they're having a baby. And if you kill me, I'll, come after your back. I mean, things like that. It just kind of like trying to stick that needle in you to get you to do these things or to kill them and stuff. So yeah, it gets very interesting, and that became very interesting as it went along once some of those rules and stuff, and like don't use electricity, because there's that really cool part where like you see the shadows from the antlers go up and stuff. I mean, there's there's some really great moments, really creepy moments.
You're chasing this evil rotten thing in the night and you can't turn on your flashlight. I mean, that's
and they use it to good effect. Like, when they are finally driving around, like they turn the lights on for a little bit and turn it off and turn it on again. And that actually, for me, it enhanced the terror. Like when he's driving up to the girl walking down the street,
that
blew me away.
I'm probably telling you what my favorite scene is, but
his ex-wife,
that scene,
or well, Jimmy's
is so effectively atmospheric because it's almost like the Lights Out movie, a little bit. Turn the light, but this is he's getting closer. You know what's happening, but then when you see,
and you're seeing it from the back,
you see it from the back. You only see glimpses, and then there's a part where he stops and you see her walk by and you see more. It's like, oh my God, this is horrible because you have this former mom like pulling stuff out of her dead kid's head, and it's like, oh my God, this is ridiculous, and you learn information about these evil things, how they, what was it? The woman told a story about how the person had consumed all of their family and stuff like that. It's like, wow, this is truly evil. But yeah, it's like there's so many moments where there's children in peril. Man, you talk about that dog scene, man.
Is so well done.
And that again is another atmospheric, tense scene because with them focusing on the kids and the dog so much, something's going to happen. But when that happens, I was like, oh my, wow. I was like, how did they do that? Because that was like so freaking realistic. There's so many parts where, where the axes are going into heads and things like that. They're just like, that's so freaking brutal.
And what really sells that scene, Christopher, is they cut away from it and then cut to her brother sitting on the stairs, and he like drops his toy, right? And he's just like, the terror on his face just makes that scene 100 times more scary than it already was. They did a great job setting up these scares and the tension.
Yeah, some really great cinematography.
The viciousness of the dog and the adults are all arguing in the other room.
They don't even know what's going on.
They don't even hear the girl scream. The kid runs in and starts yelling. Finally, somebody hears it.
And when they turn, it runs out the door, dragging her. That was like, oh my God.
Or even the part where the little girl's like, he's gonna kill you.
Yeah. And then
boom. And all of a sudden you see that car. It's like crap.
Oh my gosh. And that's not the last time.
No.
Because
That's relative in this movie. Yeah.
I mean, even the moment when they realize there's something wrong with the goat, and then the goat, instead of running off, walks up to the gun and puts its head right up against the rifle. And I was like, oh my God, it's such a simple thing that means so much more than the simple visual it is, with all the story behind it. It's really effective. And then it leads to something like, Christopher was saying, something incredibly shocking. This movie starts off very straight into the story. We basically have two guys and they start hearing gunshots, and then they walk into the story. And then I really like that. We get this really interesting setup. We follow these two guys, and then we follow a third guy that goes with them, Ruiz, right? Ruiz. And it's just, because it's written and directed by Demián Rugna, and I just thought he did a fantastic job with this story and script and the people involved. And even though the lead, the father guy, is kind of a dunce as far as what his decision making, everything he did felt authentic. It felt true to his character. It felt like he was making. It didn't feel like he was making characters just to serve, or making decisions just to serve the story. It felt like he was making decisions his character would make. And another thing that was interesting is if you pay attention to the dialogue in the background, there's this weird thing about the local churches. I don't know if you caught all that basically all the local churches are closed, and there's like the one lady used to run a church with her husband, and they closed it down, and they say this thing about that, church is dead and stuff. Really?
Right.
Yeah. They will even go that far as well. Yeah. And it's very strange. So it doesn't feel.
Yeah, he says that. Somebody says that. I can't remember what. When they trace things back to that shack, right, where they find the rotten thing. that woman, he is talking about praying and faith, and that's what he said. Yeah, the church is dead. The church died.
So there's definitely something bigger going on, and they talk about the town, and the lights are all out, because it's almost entirely rural. There's only one scene where they go into town to talk to the police. Every time else they're they're in the countryside, but all the lights of the city are out, so that it's bigger. It's kind of like in Night of the Living Dead, bigger, right? You're in this one little section of a story, but the story is much larger. There's something bigger going on, and then there's some crap that happens that they don't really explain, and I love that. I love the fact that something happens, with the blood, fingers on the head, and doesn't matter, but holy shit, that's creepy. Gets under my skin. Don't know what's going on, but woof.
Well, I will say there were parts throughout that were kind of confusing and didn't make sense. That I kind of wish there would have been a little bit more for that. I don't mind if that's a little bit mysterious, but for the most part, there was part I felt like, just like the characters, I felt like in the dark.
What give us an example. What was an example?
I don't know. I just felt like in the very beginning, it just like they threw all these things at you, and then there's and you don't really know anything until like the very end at all. Mm-hmm. It just seemed very, very confusing as to what they were doing, and it is kind of weird because it's almost like because we recently watched the movie Dark Harvest, and it's almost like you have this whole town that kind of knows about this rotten thing, So like Dark Harvest, they knew about this specific thing, and but they don't really. But it's almost like, do they believe it or do they not believe it? Is it it's like so. I don't know. It just felt it wasn't as cohesive, I guess, for me.
I also liked what they did with the autistic kid. Yes. And how they explain that in terms of the it's in them, but it's caught in the entanglement of their mind, and it can't get out until it solves it or something. So that was kind of an interesting.
Yeah.
I did like the phrase she's talking about, like evil likes children and children like evil.
Yes. So Dave, I mean, you said you're not as big a fan as the rest of us, and what would make you like this movie more? Because when I was watching it, I felt like this would actually be in your wheelhouse, despite some of the normal things.
Yeah. Well, Christopher was kind of vocalizing some of the stuff. I was kind of confused throughout it. I just didn't really know what was going on a lot of the time, and a lot of time I blame that on myself because again, foreign films, subtitled films, I tend to get distracted. I look away. I lose interest. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm just not paying attention, so this is my fault. But actually listening to Christopher say, it's like, okay, well, maybe I was actually paying attention. I just didn't know what the fuck was going on. So,
Well, I felt like it explained it later, like anyway. But
yeah, it may have. Again, I think it's just, again, you worded it best, Doc. It's just a film that's not really in my wheelhouse. But with that being said, I can appreciate the gore and the violence, that dog scene that you were talking about. Literally, I was like on the edge of my seat watching. I'm like, holy shit! I mean, you don't see that kind of stuff for that dog ripping that kid around like it was doing, and that was just vile. It was violent.
I know, and you're looking for a sign. Because we already know that animals have it uses animals, and you had to stay away from the animals. But we're waiting for a sign, and there really isn't one. It just happens. And I think that's
and like you said, the adults are there and arguing, and the kids playing on the steps, and Sis is getting ripped apart by the pit bull, and no one's paying any freaking attention.
It's a great shot, like Christopher was saying, because it's behind the little girl and the dog who are right next to each other, and in the background you're seeing the parents arguing.
Yep.
And I'm literally thinking that dog is going to do something. That dog is going to do something. And then I'm also thinking, no, they're not gonna. And then when he does, it's like, whoa.
Well, they take their time with it too. It's not like, because first you see the little boy interacting with the dog, and then the girl comes over with the dog, and then they're both interacting, and then the boy goes off to play this toy, and the girl's interacting, and then that's when it attacks. And so it really keeps you in suspense, because like, a lot of times when they focus on things, like there's a reason why they're focusing on this.
Right.
Something might happen. And then, like you said, well, maybe nothing will happen. Maybe they're just trying to throw us off. But no, when that happens, that dog just attacks. It's like shit, and then you see it just dragging that little girl. It's like, good Lord, this movie is not playing. I will say I still don't understand the contraption thingy other than the stabby thing. And that also kind of threw me, because they kind of showed it in the very beginning, and then she kind of sets it up, but then I don't understand the whole point of it other than the blade or whatever that's supposed to go into to me, that's like, you kind of set it up and then you just kind of,
well, they never got a chance to. I mean,
yeah, but I would have loved to at least have an understanding what that was. You know what I mean? Because you have this whole mystery of what the things, and it's broken apart. In a movie, you should at least explain a little bit the process of it, other than this, she says, I have to jab this in the neck. But it looked like something you look like a surveyor would use. It doesn't even look
like, or when you're looking at the stars or something.
Yeah, or like
parts of the time machine or something.
Yeah, so it doesn't. To me, it doesn't even make sense what it is or what it, So I think, again, that if you want something that was confusing, that didn't make a lot of sense to me, it's like when you set that up, at least give some kind of explanation for it. Otherwise, it's kind of wasteful to me, because then I kept thinking, well, maybe he can take the knife and stick it in his neck instead of.
Yeah, and I thought it was kind of cool, and then I think maybe the idea is that there is something that can save them. But they squander the opportunity. And the other thing that I liked a lot is the woman who's supposed to kind of be their expert guide. There's a point where she's like, I mean, this isn't her dialogue, but it's kind of like, oh shit, this is worse than I've ever.
We're fucked.
Get back.
She had that like the Children of the Corn sinister moment with all the kids.
And then the one kid is acting so weird, you don't know if she's telling the truth or lying, and of course by the end of it. But and then you find all the adults underneath the stage, and that was creepy as hell.
But right off the bat, we see we don't see the dog and the kid right away, but we do see the body tore up in the edge of the woods with the pieces of the contraption around them. Yep. And then when they go into the house and you see the rotten thing there in bed, and I'm telling you, folks,
it's just
if you want to see a rotten person, this is rotten.
It reminded me of Seven, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
it was.
Dave's at home cooking dinner, so he didn't care. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's oh, that looks good. Let's give our score 1 to 5 and our favorite scene. And since Dave loved it so much, Dave, you are going first.
Oh, I get to go first? Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to make you go first.
Expecting that. I feel like if I give this thing anything less than a 3, that the entire horror community will burn me at the stake. So I'm going to give it a 3. So I'm going to give it a 3. There's no denying that it's incredibly well made. There are some really intense scenes, some great effects. I didn't dig the story. I got lost along the way, and again, Christopher kind of. The reason I was so quiet was Christopher was kind of saying everything I was thinking. The stupidity of some of the characters, and I get they're scared and all this, but by the time we get to the goat scene, you can't kill the fucking goat, or it's gonna possess you, right? So why would you do it? It doesn't even make sense. It's just stupidity. But it does lead to a great death scene.
So the mess at the end.
The entire horror world seems to love this, but I'm going to give it a 3. If you got Shudder, check it out. I'd be curious to see if everyone feels the same. Favorite scene?
Don't take the one Christopher says it is.
Go with. I don't know which one to go with. I can't decide because there are a couple really good ones. I think the one that shocked me the most, and actually was probably the first shock in the entire thing, at least for me, is after he kills the goat and the wife whacks him in the head with the axe. That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that, and I did not see that coming. You didn't either. Didn't see that one coming.
I didn't see the follow up coming either.
The follow up's actually the poster, so I kind of figured that was coming. Okay. Yeah. Him getting whacked so violently first was not expected. So actually jumped a little bit. So that's my take.
That was one of my first mini jumps. Yes. Jeff, what was your score? Favorite scene?
Well, I'm for some reason I seem to be debating a lot, but I'm gonna go on the generous side. I'm gonna go 5 because I loved Terrified, and I love this one as much. This guy has an eye that just throws disturbing things at you. I mean, everything. So anyway, favorite scene. Well, now which one should I take? I'm going to take, and Dave, about your scene, one of the things that disturbed me the most about that scene was how the goat walked right up to him and put its head right.
Oh yeah, that was kind of cool. Yeah,
kind of taunting him.
I guess I'll leave the one Chris mentioned for him because he said that would probably be his favorite scene. But so I'll take the dog because that's when you knew there were going to be no rules.
No rules. Love it. I love it. Christopher G. Mohr, what's your score? And share your favorite scene, will you please?
I really loved the film. I did have a few issues, so I give it a 4.5 out of 5. I think if I could have gotten past some of the cohesion or not understanding certain parts or things that they really didn't explain, I would have given it a full 5. But it's still a really wonderful film, or wonderful is a weird thing to call it, but it is just the brutality. He doesn't pull any punches, and I think too many directors don't take those kind of risks or chances, I think, and just the way he does it, it's not just a torture porn brutality for brutality's sake. It's actually very impactful in the way he tells the story. Of course, I mentioned it earlier. I think one of the creepiest scenes I've seen all years has been that scene where he's driving up trying to go after the mom who ran off with the kid. And it is so creepy and atmospheric, intense, and just really well shot to where you're in the beginning, you're just inside the truck. So you're seeing it from his point of view. Mm-hmm. And then when she walks by, it's like, oh my God, that is just horrible. What she's doing. yeah, that scene is very haunting to me, and I think I'll be thinking about that scene for a long time after watching this film.
Oh yeah, me too. It's quite easily there's a lot of shocking things. Okay, so going into this, I'd heard some of the hype, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna be too hyped for this. It's not gonna live up to it. It exceeded everything I was expecting. I was totally blown away by this movie. It's shot so well. The scary scenes are set up so well and orchestrated so well. I have very little to say about it. I agree with what Christopher and Dave were saying about some of the, there is some lack of exposition, but I don't know. A lot of times I complain about exposition, so I'm not really hating that as much. So I'm giving it a 4.75. It's definitely in my top 10. I don't even if something has a 5, this one still could jump ahead of it. The scores aren't that particular when it comes to the top 10 of the year, but there are going to be scenes in this I will never forget. I definitely want to see it again. My favorite scenes have been mentioned, but I also there's when the reborn thing walks by. What's our lead character's name again?
Pedro, I think.
Pedro walks by Pedro and just does the little thing on his head with the fingers. Was just, I don't know. It was kind of like, it was frightening in an entirely new way, right? Because it just meant like, thank you, I won. And they walk off, and it's not the end of the movie.
He was of no importance, right?
Yeah, it was just like, and he just marked him. And then, it was just like, and for me, that was chilling. That whole scene when they started uncovering everybody underneath the stage of the school, everything about that really is part of that. But just having that critter walk past him and do that, just
that and it's almost like a anti-religious anointing of sorts, he's been anointed as the person who's brought this evil into this world.
Yeah, and doesn't he have a hard time washing it off later because he washes everything?
Yeah, it's into his head now.
Yeah, you can't get the mark. It's just,
although that blood was a little more paint red than blood red, but
yeah, but it was very effective. Oh my gosh. It reminded me, I'm trying to remember, it reminded me of like Demons in a way, the old 80s movie in a way. But this movie blew me away. Absolutely blew me away.
Cool.
Exactly. All right, well, there you go. That's our review of When Evil Lurks. Believe the hype. Go watch it on Shudder and let us know what you think of it in the comments below. Let us know if you're on Dave's side and it's just not all that in a bag of chips. I want to know. Right, Dave? Right?
Is what it is.
All right. Jeff, Christopher, and Dave. Thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Yes,
I love lurking here with you guys.
Lurking.
Yes.
Oh, yes. This is the kind of lurking that will haunt your dreams. All
Lurking
right. Our
about.
nightmares. All right. Let's get out of it. Let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.